Okay, welcome to part 2 of my DVD update for November 2nd. And the next ones I got these also at the flea market. And, it's South Park, the 3rd season, and the 4th season. And, I'm a big South Park fan. Love this show. It's a classic in my opinion. And, if you haven't seen this show, you must be living under a rock. I mean, I know one person has to have seen, a South Park episode. All you people must have seen a South Park episode. But I think in my opinion, it's one of Comedy Central's best shows they ever put on the air. But one thing was when I bought these two, they had the seasons that were released up until they released it up to the 13th season, I think. And they had all of them for like $10, and I was like, oh, I don't have enough. And I was like, after I left, I was like kicking myself because I was like, oh man, I should have got all of the seasons, that were released. But because they only released them up to 13, like I said. But but if I see them again, I'll pick them up. I hope I do. That's if they're selling them, because I want to get all the seasons that were released, because I'm a big fan of this show, like I said. So next one I got this at Best Buy in Staten Island 2 weeks ago, because the Best Buy by me didn't have any copies of this movie, and I've been really wanting to see this movie for a long time, and after I saw it, I was amazed by how good this movie was. And it's Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood, and his performance was amazing. It also stars Martin Landau, who played Bela Lugosi, which his character was amazing also. It also has Sarah Jessica Parker, Patricia Arquette, Jeffrey Jones, Bill Murray. But it's a very well done movie, directed by Tim Burton. Tim Burton's one of my favorite directors. He's on my top 5, list of favorite directors. But it's just a great film, and it's basically about like Ed Wood and his films, and Ed Wood was considered the worst director of all time, and because his movies were very bad and laughable, but it's done in a very good way. And it shows how, he loved to dress in women's clothing, and how he got to get Bela Lugosi back, to doing movies. But it's just an amazing film. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And the music in this is also really, really well done. And Metapunk XP was one of my YouTube buddies on here. He did a review on this. If you haven't checked out Metapunk XP, go to his channel, watch his videos, subscribe. He does amazing movie reviews. I remember him reviewing this movie, and he also showed this in his movie collection video, which I guess he deleted, and I guess he deleted the review of this movie also. I don't know, but he said in his movie collection video that this was Tim Burton's masterpiece, and I would have to agree with him. In my opinion, it's Tim Burton's second film. Tim Burton's second masterpiece film that he done. The first will always be Edward Scissorhands, in my opinion. But it's an amazing movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's really, really good. Next one I got, and I've been waiting for this show to come out on DVD for the longest of time. I wish I could have got this back in June, but I didn't have enough money for it. But I'm glad to have it now. And it's Ghostwriter. It's the complete first season. And that's a childhood favorite TV show of mine. I always loved this show as a kid. Basically what this show is about is these kids, they see like this ghost, and they're like, when they first see the ghost, they're like, what is that thing? And they're all freaked out and stuff. and they name it Ghostwriter, and they form a team which is called the Ghostwriter team, and they the only way they could interact with Ghostwriter, because Ghostwriter can't see them or hear them, the only way they could communicate with Ghostwriter is if they write to him, and it's done in a fun way. And this was a PBS show, but I vaguely remember watching it on PBS when I was a kid, because I was really little. But I remember seeing the reruns of this show on Noggin back before when all that Nick Jr. crap, and when they changed the name of the network to Nick Jr. But I don't know if anybody remembers that, but years ago, back then, Noggin used to be like this really great, fun channel, which I would call it, the classic Noggin. And they had a lot of great shows. They had Doug, reruns. They had reruns of classic Nick Jr. shows such as Allegra's Window, Gullah Gullah Island, which is still on the network today in reruns. And they also had classic shows from Sesame Workshop's library, which they used to be called Children's Television Workshop. They had reruns of Square One TV, which I don't know if any of you remember that show, but if you remember they used to that show, you might remember Math Man. That's that little skit in that show. They also had 3-2-1 Contact, which was basically an educational show, I think, about outdoor stuff. And they also had classic 70s episodes of The Electric Company. If any of you grew up in the 70s, might remember watching that. And they also had classic Sesame Street episodes from when the show began in 1969, all the way up till the 90s, when that decade was, the time that I watched Sesame Street. And in my opinion, the last good, the 90s were the last good decade of Sesame Street. But, but back to this. This is a great show. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really cool. It's got a lot of good episodes. There's a lot of good episodes, but the episodes are broken up into, the episodes are like a story. Like there's part 1, part 2, part 3, etc. Basically, there's like 4 parts to each episode, because they run 30 minutes, long. But I remember the VHS. I have a VHS, The Ghost Story. That was the first episode story arc. On the VHS, it was like a full movie. There wasn't, end credits or, any of that. But, it's great to have all the first season episodes. And, I really like 2 of the episodes in this season. I like this episode, called Into the Comics. And that episode is about the team entering a comic book contest, and if they won the contest, they get to star in the comic book, like on the front cover, which is really, really cool. And there was also this episode called Building Bridges, which is one of my favorite episodes or story arc from this season. And it's about Rob, who's a member of the Ghostwriter team, and he meets this guy named Victor. And Victor used to be in this gang, and he quit because his brother was shot, and he's in a his brother was in a wheelchair, and there's this student causing trouble for him all over the school, and the kids think he's doing all this around the school. But it's a great show. It's cheesy when you look back on this show now, but that's the fun of it. It's very 90s also. I mean, the styles in this show scream 90s a lot. And it has a lot of guest stars in this show. And the first episode has Samuel L. Jackson. In the second episode, it has Jeremy Miller from Growing Pains and the father from Alf. And he played like this cranky, store owner. But, if you haven't seen Ghostwriter, check it out. It's really cool. So I'm going to make a part 3 here, so I'll see you all in part 3.